The Samtavro Monastery meant everything to him. He couldn't live without this monastery, without the nuns and clergy who had settled here. He himself was an fool for Christ elder, a sage. In a sense, it wasn't easy with Father Gabriel. Things could seem very difficult with him, but he was always honest and simple. Father Gabriel didn't create comfort for the clergy in the monastery. He himself was very strict and demanded the same strictness from the nuns. Sometimes it was even unbearable. I felt very sorry for the novices. How many times I wondered about it. Why did he sometimes greet the novices so harshly? I thought that the novices would run away from the monastery. Of course, some did run away because they weren't ready for monastic life. Some stayed. I remember when one of the novices came to the monastery. It was cold. There was frost. We were sitting upstairs, and Father Gabriel said to me, "You know, in the old days, novices were welcomed with rudeness. That's how they guessed whether a person was ready for monastic life or not. Let's go to the church." I couldn't understand why he said that. When we went downstairs, I saw the novice. She was so obedient and quiet. Father Gabriel approached her and began to insult her with coarse words. I can't repeat those words now. I thought, why is he doing this? She will surely run away from the monastery. Father Gabriel heard my thoughts and suddenly turned to me and said, "Don't worry, she won't run away anywhere. She will become the bouquet of monasticism." And indeed, it all came true. I don't want to mention her name now. We have very strong-spirited mothers and fathers, and this is true happiness. I believe their prayers will help save Georgia. Father Gabriel especially loved the Samtavro Monastery. He called it the beauty of Georgia. He often said, "Let's go to Mitsketa." I knew that meant going to Svetitskovli, the Cathedral of the Living Pillar. He didn't stay there long. His heart was tied to Samtavro. He would say again, "Let's go to Mitsketa." We already knew he was going to the Samtavro Monastery. Samtavro was a special place for him. About Samtavro, Father Gabriel would say, "Half of the kingdom of heaven is here. Who would ever leave from here? Look at my nuns. They aren't little girls." Every time he spoke harshly to someone, I would start to feel nervous and anxious. I was a novice and didn't understand much about life in the monastery back then. It seemed to me then that he didn't love these nuns. Now I regret it deeply. It was because of my ignorance. I remember one time he sat next to me, cried, and said, "Remember well what I'm telling you now. You can't imagine how much I love these nuns. I could give my life for any of them. If I weren't here, they would be flying in the sky." I was glad when he said that. It's difficult to understand a holy fool for Christ monk. Father Gabriel said, "You can't understand or comprehend a saint." However, saints often didn't always speak by the grace of the Holy Spirit. Everyone had their own thoughts too. The main thing here is to have faith, like the Holy Apostle Peter. A believer must be like a rock. But remember, believe only in the teachings of the Church. That's most important. Father Gabriel didn't say anything new about the faith. That which has already been said remains and will remain. He himself said, "I also wanted to write something, but I remember nothing except my own sins." He often cried and agonized over his sins. How can the Lord save me with my perishing soul? I don't remember ever doing a single good deed for anyone. Such was Father Gabriel. A good monk should have a soft heart, like that of a woman. He always mourned over his own sins. To me, he was a holy father, and I looked at him as a sinless person. Every person has their own sins. Holy Father Gabriel lived in such a way that he reached God and purified his soul. The Lord dwelled in Father Gabriel. He was a God-bearing father. Sometimes he didn't even need to pray. He would reach out his hand and it happened. He was a miracle worker, but he didn't perform simple miracles. I witnessed many miracles here. I wondered, when does he pray? He heard my thoughts and suddenly shouted at me, Gabriel doesn't need to pray. Gabriel speaks, and it happens. One day, I forgot about Father Gabriel during morning prayers. I left the apartment and headed to the monastery. To him. On the way, I was very upset and couldn't forgive myself for it. Along the way, I met a woman who was close to me. I had some problems with her. We had a big argument and parted ways. She went somewhere, and I went to the monastery to Father Gabriel. Of course, he welcomed me and blessed me. I stayed with him for a long time until the evening. At the farewell, he blessed me, and I kissed his hand. At that moment, he said to me, Ketevan, please, don't forget about me in your prayers anymore. Oh, Father Gabriel, you even know about that? Yes, I know about it, and I also know who you argued with on the way. You quarreled with Etheri. Now go and reconcile with her immediately. This is how he was.